Good morning, everyone. Good morning, all. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. You're welcome to the Learning and Performance webinar conducted by MACT Limited. Welcome every one of us to this webinar. Our webinar is on learning and performance, shaping your knowledge retention strategies. This webinar has been put together to enable us as professionals find ways and strategies by which we can implement those knowledge that we gain from different programs that we attend, be it webinars, be it seminars, be it training programs, even your peer reviews amongst your colleagues in your organization. Most feedback that we've been getting is, okay, so we go for all these training programs. We actually struggle to implement the knowledge that we have gained in our organization due to one reason or the other. So we have come up with this webinar, which is very, very timely, and to assist you, to guide you in on ways by which you can implement your learning nuggets that you have from your different learning sessions. On behalf of my managing director and the executive team of MACT Limited, we welcome everyone to this program today. It is our first series. We hope to have subsequent series in the coming months. In this program, we are going to have 2 speakers. This program is scheduled for just about an hour, 30 minutes, so that you can learn and also go back to your job deliverables for today. So we have 2 speakers who are key drivers in their respective organizations. We have the head of Training Academy of First Bank, who is our first speaker. We also have the head of talent management in IKDC. I'm sure we all know these 2 organizations are top frontiers within their respective industries. And so we'll be gleaning from their wealth of experience on how they also have been able to use learning and performance to drive improvement on the job. So you have a lot to learn. This is a webinar. We'll also be taking your questions at the end of each session. So we'll have the speakers take us 30 minutes each on their topics, and then we'll have Q&As for about 5 to 7 minutes after each speaker. Like I said, the session is just for about an hour 130. This session is also streamed live on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. So please do well. You can also invite your other colleagues to join us here on Zoom, or they can also join us on Facebook or LinkedIn or on Instagram. So quickly, I'd like us to kickstart right away, just so that we can manage the time as planned. So I'm quickly going to introduce our speaker. Okay, but before then, my name is Awile Ojogo. I work with the Learning and Development team of MACT, and I have my colleagues here as well. I have Ebun. Hi, Ebun. I have Bolaji. Ebun here. We have Ebun. We have Bolaji. We have Patrick and Ijoma as well. So we all will be here to manage this session for today. We welcome you all once again, and we appreciate your time. Know that you're also at work, but we crave your indulgence to please utilize this time and maximize it, just so that you can also learn from it and take your learning points back to your organization. So quickly, I would hand over to our facilitator. Our first speaker is Mrs. Tolulope Wadia. She is the head of Training Academy First Bank. You're welcome, ma. Please, would like you to proceed and with your session. Thank you very much, ma. You're welcome.
Thank you, Awele, and it's nice to be here. I hope you can hear me.
Clearly, ma.
Okay, and I hope you can see my video as well.
Clearly, ma.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I trust that we are all well. despite the state of Nigeria, I trust that we are all keeping above, the water. We need this at this time. We need to keep our mental health. We need to stay well, so that we can all weather the storm together. I believe that everything will be well at the end of the day. So please keep keeping on. It's going to be fine. So good morning once again. Awali has given me the assignment of talking about strategies for effective knowledge transfer. Very interesting topic, and it was quite interesting to do some research in addition to what I thought I knew, or what I thought I knew, prior to now. We learn every day. So what is knowledge transfer? Hold on, please. I'll just share my screen so that we can look through my presentation together. 1 minute. Please confirm that you can see my screen and it's in slideshow.
We can see the screen, but yet to be on slideshow.
Okay, just give me a moment. Okay.
Thank you.
I think we're good now. All right.
Yes,
so, like I mentioned, we'll be talking about strategies for effective knowledge transfer. Note that. I'm sure you're seeing some translations on my screen. Please never mind. That was some research I did on trying to communicate with some of our staff at the French-speaking subsidiaries.
It's fine, Mom. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So, all right. So what is knowledge transfer? It's a simple process of sharing information with someone else. So, and you can see that widget there, which shows two heads and some kind of transfer between the two heads. So transfer moving from one end, to another. It's an easy method by which an organization can transfer its know-how and expertise internally or externally, depending on how the organizations operate. And the main goal of knowledge transfer is to ensure that critical knowledge is passed on and retained within an organization or a team. Please keep that, in your left hand. Now, why knowledge transfer and why is it important? We'll still delve more into that, but in my introduction, I'd just like to know that it's become a very common topic now. And it focuses on transferring technological platform, market experience, managerial expertise, corporate culture, and other intellectual capital that can improve the company's competence. And I got that from Wikipedia, and I think it's actually spot on. Now, knowledge transfer is very, very important in organizations now because competition has become so fierce and technologies become obsolete, at the drop of a hat. And so equipping ourselves and our businesses with as much knowledge as possible will distinguish us and give us competitive advantage overall. Remember, we say knowledge is power, but let's not just say that knowledge is power. Knowledge, when utilized properly, is power. Because if you have the knowledge and you don't utilize it, it's just there. It's not power for you because you don't even know what to do with your knowledge. Knowledge transfer can be formal or informal. When it is informal, that means you're transferring tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge is my knowledge, the way I know it. It's born out of my experience, the way I know to do things, sometimes my belief, different things, but it's me. So let's say I had a challenge and the way I went about it to deliver it is probably not the way Awele or Jennifer would deliver it. So it becomes tacit to me and it's intangible because I may not even be able to document it. I may not even be able to tell you that this is how, I did, but I have that knowledge residing within me. So how do you bring it out? I need to transfer it. How do we bring it out? There's also the explicit knowledge, which is the formal knowledge. And that's the kind of knowledge that is documented, you have it written somewhere. It's just your straight line approach. When you need to attack this challenge, this is how you go about it. This is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. So we need to understand that there is the tacit and there is the explicit knowledge. that resides within an organization. And we must find a way to harness, this two types of knowledge, and other types that also exist, to be able to share the knowledge or transfer the knowledge, as applicable. I'll move on now. So why is knowledge transfer, why is it important? One, the need for business continuity and sustainability. You have knowledge within the organization that needs to be recycled, needs to be improved upon, needs to be sustained and all of that. So we always need to transfer the knowledge that is within the organization. Otherwise, when the organization is not learning, it's bound to die. Innovation and to drive opportunities as well. When you have knowledge, like I said, needs to improve, the knowledge that you have already, and that's called innovation. So we have a certain type of knowledge that has existed for the past, my organization is over 120 years, well over 120 years. So we've had some kind of knowledge that has been recycled, but year upon year, you don't expect what we did in the last 100 years to still be what we're doing now. There might be a slight semblance, but we must have improved upon it, over time. It also increases efficiency and productivity of the organization. Like I mentioned earlier, an organization that is not learning is likely, to die quickly, to become extinct, quickly. And so the transfer of knowledge is important to increase our efficiency and productivity as an organization, as any organization. And so we know that management really has to invest a lot in knowledge transfer, in learning for any organization, to be sustained. It reduces the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge of each employee. So we've said here that there is explicit knowledge, which you have documented somewhere, I could read it, I may not understand it, but there might be need for someone who has done that before, to tell me, oh, this is what this line means, this is what that line means, and all of that. Now, a very key one is mitigating risks arising from sudden resignation. I'm sure you've all heard about key man risk before, where you say, so on a desk where it says that if this person leaves, we're going to be in trouble. However, if there had been documented knowledge or transfer of knowledge via whatever means exists, then we will realize that the risk of a key man is going to be reduced. Also, on the part of learning curve for new joiners in an organization. So a harsh learning curve, for a new joiner creates a negative impression, it creates the wrong semblance of what your culture is and impacts productivity, and quality of delivery. And so we must at every time, ensure that there is adequate knowledge transfer process within an organization so that we don't shortchange ourselves in any way. I'll move on now. So what are the methods of knowledge transfer that we have? This list is not exhaustive. I'll just talk about a few of these ones that I have noted here. So you have the mentorship. I'm sure we all know about mentorship where, somebody is hand-holding him, you, a senior person perhaps, even though these days now we have reverse mentorship where a junior person who knows in some areas that you don't know so much, would handhold you and walk you through. But mentorship is a way of knowledge transfer. However, mentorship would assist you majorly with tacit knowledge. So if I were to mentor you, or if I had a mentor that I went to say, oh, I have a challenge, or I don't know how to manage this situation, my mentor would advise me based on his or her own experience, over time in their career. So it's kind of tacit, it's intangible, and that would also inform the way I would manage, the situation, and the way I would also advise someone who would also manage the situation. But mentorship is a great way, to effect knowledge transfer if managed very well. Job shadowing as well. Job shadowing is a situation where you are learning from someone who is on probably a job role or who is managing a responsibility at the moment. So you're working with the person day by day, tapping from the person, learning from the person, gathering information from the person on how to run that particular role. We'll also talk about collaborative work. So when you're in a team, and a team is made up of diverse people, you have people who are new in the team, some people who are old in the team, and everybody is able to come together, for the older ones in the team, and I don't mean old by age, probably by length of stay in the team, they're able to come together to say, oh, look, this is how we used to do it. The newer ones come and say, oh, where I'm coming from, we did it this way and it also worked. You're able to fuse, the knowledge together and get something great out of it, to move the organization forward. So collaboration within teams is also an effective way of managing knowledge transfer. Training sessions, this is the explicit knowledge transfer, which you deliberately organize training sessions to transfer knowledge. You look for the knowledge that is missing, get people who either internal faculty or subject matter experts externally who can come and deliver training and transfer knowledge, within the team. Also documentation, and this is very powerful. So there is need for us over time to start documenting knowledge within the organization. And there are several ways to do this. We'll talk more about this in the future. So in the near future during my presentation, I recall that I worked in an organization where we had a SharePoint. I'll call it it wasn't called a SharePoint at the time, but I believe it's a semblance of a SharePoint now thinking about it. So on whatever desk you were placed on, there was something online, let me call it a SharePoint for the benefit of this conversation, where you could go into and there was no memo that you wanted to write that you would not find on that SharePoint. So you're not starting from the scratch. You have something to guide you. And so I believe that in that kind of organization, when someone resigns and someone comes in, it's easier for such a person, to easily acclimatize or to start delivering, because everything that you need is already documented somewhere. You just go there, pick it, and then improve on it or add your own flavor to it. So documentation is also very powerful, as we will see, as we go on. And so when we're talking about documentation, you also talk about your standard operational procedure, your SOPs. That's another way where knowledge is documented and easily transferred as well. SOPs, organized document platform, like I said, on a shared platform, shared folder, and all of that. Now, what is an effective knowledge transfer process? So if there's a process, if there's a knowledge transfer, there must be a process, that can guide our knowledge transfer. So step one, we'll identify the knowledge to be transferred. What kind of knowledge do we want to transfer? I recall recently, we had a storytelling in my organization where we had someone who had been out, for a while to, it was the MD of one of our subsidiaries, and he was coming back to the organization. So usually when they come back, when our secondees come back, when our secondees come back to base like that, we ensure that they transfer knowledge to everyone. So we had a session which we tagged the storytelling session. And by the time he finished, it was so powerful. Everybody had questions to ask. Everybody wanted to know how he managed, a lot of situations that came across his way in the 6 years that he was away. And we thought this kind of knowledge should not be wasted, because he would leave the organization someday, perhaps very soon. And when he goes, we can't go back to go and start meeting him to say, oh, how did you do this? How did you do that? So I approached him and I said, I think you should put something in writing. Even though the session was recorded and we have it on our shared platform, anyone can access it. I also thought he had so much within him, so much tacit knowledge that he had within him that we didn't want to lose. And I said, I think you should put this in writing. And he said, Tolu, you know what? I think you're right. I would. Recently, I saw him. I said, I haven't seen your writing. He said, I have started. I can assure you, I will deliver this. And I was very pleased to hear that, because when we have that, in addition to the recordings that we have, when we have people that we are sending on secondment, I mean, they can go on the SharePoint, look through it, read it, listen to it, watch the video, you know, and all of that. And that would equip them, you know, to go to base, to go and deliver on whatever assignments they're giving out there. So that was just an example that I thought to use to talk about identifying the knowledge to be transferred. Capture the knowledge. When you capture the knowledge, it means you're collating the knowledge together into a place for use, you know, for later. Identify the knowledge to be transferred, capture the knowledge, and then the next thing is choose the right platform. What kind of platform do you want to put the knowledge on? You know, is it, we're all moving away from paperless operations now. So maybe we may not want to use files anymore. We may want to use our SharePoint. It could be a video where you have on the SharePoint. It could be a write-up where you have also, you know, on the SharePoint. It could be in any form, but choose the right platform such that whoever is going to reference that knowledge, you know, in the nearest future would be able to understand, you know, what the knowledge transfer is about, or understand the transfer, you know, of the knowledge as it is required. Choose the right platform. Develop a structured approach. There should be a D after the structured. Pardon me for that. Develop a structured approach of putting your documentation together somewhere. Structure it so that when people are looking for it, we know that the videos concerning this topic are going to be placed here. Other videos concerning another topic are placed here. Don't just, you know, put them together haphazardly. When it is structured, it makes more, you know, more sense. Create a supportive environment. And this is all linked together. So you've structured it, you know, you're creating a supportive environment for learning as well, for people to be able to, for ease of access, you know, so that learning, you can be sure that learning will eventually take place where people reference this. And when you say structured approach as well, let me just go back to structured approach. It could be from time to time, you want to make some kind of tacit knowledge, you want to make it tangible. You organize learning sessions, you know, you organize knowledge transfer sessions where you're able to put a group of people together who need a certain type of knowledge, and you have somebody who is going to transfer that knowledge to them. So you put people together and, you know, structure it and deliver it. Measure and evaluate process. So we've transferred knowledge. How do you know that it's going to work? How do you know that it's going to support the business? We need to measure and evaluate the process, you know, as well. We need to ensure that what we have put together is going to deliver the goal that we have set it out to be. So that is also very important, because if you don't measure, what you don't measure may not get done and may not have an impact. So it could be after, you know, such knowledge transfer processes, you know, you put people together and let's have a test, or let's discuss what you've learned, you know, let's discuss what has been transferred. Give a case study, give a scenario, let them apply whatever, you know, knowledge has been transferred to them, you know, to deliver or to resolve issues, you know, in the organization. It could be a project, you know, and all of that. So you have to measure and evaluate that process to ensure that whatever you put together has worked. Now, what are challenges in knowledge transfer? For every process, there is always a challenge. So it may not drop easily, you know, on your laps just like that. But these challenges are surmountable. I mean, there are things that we can easily walk through if we commit ourselves to it. So the first one I have here is inability to recognize and compile tacit knowledge into tangible knowledge. Remember, I talked about tacit knowledge when I started. This is very intangible. It's my way of doing it. It's your own way of doing it, which is different from my own way. And in fact, sometimes it could cause a rift where I'll tell you, this is the way to do it. And you tell me, no, that's not how I did it the other time. So long as, I mean, I'm not breaching the rules and regulations, the policy is not being breached, I think this is how to do it. So we need to be able to recognize and compile tacit knowledge into tangible knowledge. So like I said, We had someone come share his story on his sojourn, abroad. We're putting all of that together where he has said, if you encounter this kind of challenge, this is the way to go about it. It becomes tangible. You can use that as a process to resolve whatever issue comes your way in that regard, or add to it, or, whatever. It becomes very, very useful. Like I mentioned, another challenge is also different views on explicitness of knowledge. So my way is not your way, is not Taiwo's way, is not Clarice Oyesom's way. So we have different views on how to do things. So this can also cause a challenge in knowledge transfer. But like I said, it's not insurmountable. I mean, those are things that we can walk through. Those are things that we can sit down and discuss to say, okay, so this is how you know how to do it. This is how you know how to do it. How do we fuse our different views together to be able to get a right solution to manage the situation? So that's another challenge, and that's a way out of it. Differences in area of expertise. That's also another challenge in the area of knowledge transfer. So we have a situation at hand. I work out of HR, somebody works out of credit, or someone is a salesperson. And the salesperson says, look, why don't we just handle it this way and get it over and done with? And the person in HR says, no, we don't do things like that here. We're dealing with human beings. You know how we do in HR. We're dealing with human beings. We need to be considerate. We need to do this. We need to do that. There are different things that we're considering and all of that. So that could also, cause a challenge in the area of knowledge transfer. But like I said, it's not insurmountable. These are things that we can walk through, The use of visual representations to transfer knowledge. If you use the wrong method to transfer knowledge, you may not get it right. So let's, at every point in time, know the right method to transfer knowledge. Is it going to be face-to-face? Do we have to put people together in a room to discuss and trash out issues? Should it be virtual, like we are on a Zoom call now? If we do a virtual call, do you think it would be worth the while? Do you think the right knowledge will be transferred? Do you think we just think it through and look at, which one is best, approach to manage the situation. Faulty information and misconceptions. This is a very big one. So if you've gotten your data wrong from the get-go, then you're building on a false platform, on a false background, and this will create issues for you in the future. So let's ensure that whatever we are building, we are getting it right from the get-go, and we are building on it, we're building on whatever it is. At the end of the day, we have a foolproof solution to address, issues and our knowledge transfer. Now, the next one is another huge one as well. What kind of culture do we have in our organizations? Is it the culture of learning, or we just leave things to be? So I've heard of people join organizations, and the same way they rushed in, they rushed out, and they will tell you, it wasn't what I planned for that I met there. They just leave you on your own and you're swimming for survival. And this happens, sadly, in quite a lot of organizations, and it doesn't encourage people to want to join you. So what kind of culture do we have? We have to be deliberate about knowledge transfer, knowledge sharing in whatever form, knowledge management, whatever form it comes in. It has to be a deliberate effort. Remember when I started the session, I had said that an organization that has no knowledge is not going to stand the test of time. The knowledge that resides within your organization gives you a competitive edge, and it gives you an advantage over quite a number of organizations. And we should tap into that and leverage on it. Now, the last one, and this is not exhaustive, there are other ones, but I was just mindful of time. Limitations of information and communication technologies. So what do you have in the organization? What deliberate effort have you made, for your knowledge transfer? What do you have? What do you keep? Where do you keep your data? Where do you keep the knowledge that resides within the organization? How do you treat the people who have this knowledge? This is food for thought, for all of us, So we need to make a deliberate effort. Some people might say, oh, it's very expensive. ICTs are expensive, but at the end of the day, it gives you a long-term benefit when you're able to tap into the resources that you have to deliver on your goals as an organization. So that is that on challenges in knowledge transfer. My presentation isn't a very long one. I was just being mindful of the time that had been given. So in conclusion, I'd say that and like I've said repeatedly, over the course of this conversation, an effective knowledge transfer strategy combines technology, it combines your culture, it combines measurement and infrastructure in order to share knowledge across multiple areas in your organization. Not only to share knowledge, to keep knowledge and eventually share it. Now, by employing multiple methods and technologies, you'll be better able to communicate knowledge to different types of people with different skill sets and then harness this. Finally, creating a culture that allows people to experiment with new ideas about how to get things done by encouraging employees to provide new strategies and in accomplishing tasks can never be underestimated. So we need to allow, knowledge to flow within the organization. It becomes ours at the end of the day so that we can tap into it. Another area I would like to talk about that I didn't document here is that when people are leaving our organization, especially people who are retiring, who have spent a long time in the organization, some clocked 60 on the job, some may have spent 35 years on the job. Those people are trees of knowledge. Don't let them go so easily. Allow them to transfer as much knowledge as possible into the people who are upcoming so that we don't lose that knowledge when they leave the organization. And in conclusion, let me use a quote from Peter Drucker, who is one of the founders of knowledge management. Knowledge has to be improved, it has to be challenged, it has to be increased constantly or it will vanish. How are we treating knowledge in our organization? I hope I've been able to impact you. Thank you very much. Awele, back to you.
Awesome session. Thank you very much. Please, can we appreciate Mrs. Tolulope for this awesome information she has been able to pass across, extensive knowledge that we have gained within this short period of time. Please, can we see your claps, your virtual claps go up? Thank you so much, Ma. It's been an enlightening session for us here, listening on how we as individuals can actually share, keep knowledge. Like you said, we need to keep the knowledge and then we need to share it. And the best way that we can maximize it is to combine it with technology, combine it with infrastructure as well. You also mentioned that it needs to be measured. So if it is not measured, you would have a challenge with actually identifying the value that you have brought to the table. And you also need to ensure that there is a deliberate effort for you to tap into the resources that your organization has given you to deliver on the job. Thank you so much, Ma, for this extremely intelligent knowledge sharing session that we have gained from you today. We are really appreciative of it. Thank you very much. Before we proceed, we would like to take questions. Questions will be for another 5 minutes. This is exactly 11:35. So if you have questions for Madam Tolulope, please, we'll take 5 questions. If you have your questions, please can you indicate by raising your hand? Please use the reaction tab to raise your hand, just so that we beckon on you to give your questions. Thank you very much. If we do not see any hands, we would like you to also share.
There's a question in the chat box.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So Bolaji, please can you go ahead and read this question?
Okay, the question is from Justice. Sorry, I can't pronounce the last name, so I'll just say the question is from Justice. And it reads, on your last statement on employee transitioning or retiring, could you share some best practices or strategies for capturing tactic knowledge from employees who might be transitioning out of the organization? So I'll read it again. Basically, the question is, could you share some best practices or strategies for capturing knowledge from employees who might be transitioning out of the organization?
Okay, I think she may be having a bit of network glitch.
Yes.
Sorry, Madam Tolope, please can you hear us? Okay, all right. So whilst we try reaching out to her, please can we also have other questions, please? I know that you're in your workplaces. If you do not have the opportunity to unmute to speak, can you just drop your questions in the chat box and we'll read it out for the facilitator. Madam, are you back, please?
I think I am. I actually thought others were the ones with the problem. I was feeling so cool with myself. I didn't know I was
All
the
right.
one. I'm back here.
All right. All right. Thank you. We'll take the question again.
Please.
Thank you.
The question from Justice: could you share some best practices or strategies for capturing knowledge from employees who might be transitioning out of the organization?
All right. Thank you very much. So like I said, I think I mentioned an example where in my organization, we organize knowledge management or knowledge sharing sessions, and one of it we have tagged storytelling session, where we will bring such a person on board and have them share with the entire bank. Sometimes, we have them share with our talent pool or successors, and all of that. I mentioned that, so, I mean, that's kind of like putting quite a number of people in a room. It could be a virtual room and have them share their experience, with everyone, or have them document their experience. So I've had a colleague who was going to leave, the organization, and I said, look, all these things that you do, even though we have a standard operating procedure, so it's a high-level document. Can you please put together, because I knew that there were so many things that she was doing. So tell me, week 1, when we are about to handle this process, what do we need to do in week 1? Put it down. What do we need to do in week 2? At what point do we have to take this step, and all of that, so that there's continuity and the next person who is coming to take up that role has, something to fall back on and is easily fits into that role to deliver the job. So there's several ways. Either bring the person to share the knowledge, have the person document after sharing that knowledge, have the person also document, what they have shared, so that there's continuity, something that we can always refer to when we find ourselves in situations, or something that we can always build on to, so those are ways that we can improve knowledge transfer within the organization. Thank you. I hope that helps. Am I still here?
Yes, Ma. Yes, Ma. I can hear you. All right. There's another question from the same Justice. Could you share some best practices or strategies for capture? Oh, sorry. I'm reading the same. Sorry. What strategies can organizations employ to encourage employees to actively contribute to knowledge sharing and retention efforts?
So, knowledge sharing or knowledge transfer may not come to everybody naturally. Sometimes you actually have to coerce people, so give them a bit of time, but let them know that they're going to share that knowledge. They can't run away from it. It's just a service that you're doing to the organization that you work for, so I'm not saying use force, but talk to them, let them know that they carry some kind of knowledge that the organization requires, and bring them out of their shell so that they're able to share it. Some people may not want to come virtually this way, the way you're looking at my face, maybe they're shy, or whatever it is. Have them document it and keep it somewhere, within your SharePoint where everyone can always have access to it. Let them put together a process, for doing things that only they may have done before. How were they able to achieve it? What steps did they take, and all of that. They could document it, and then you can keep that for future reference, So those are some of the ways that we can have people, or we can engage people. So I've had calls to chase after probably some senior people to come and share knowledge, and I really wouldn't give up, So you keep going back to them to say, we need you, we need you, we need you on this program, we need you on this program because of this, and that. Eventually they would succumb to it and come back, and come and deliver. So just let them know that the knowledge that they carry is very important to the organization, and you would like to keep that kind of knowledge within the organization. Just, talk to them, and let them know what they carry. Sometimes you don't even know what you carry. You're just doing your job and you don't understand that there's something special about the way you do your job. So let them know that there's something special about what they're doing that the organization can leverage on and get them to come on board. Either way, either knowledge sharing, face-to-face, virtual, or documenting it, writing it down in a process format and all of that. I think that should work. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ma. We have 2 more questions in the chat box. I'm sure maybe after these 2 questions, we can move on. So the first one, how can organizations utilize the power of artificial intelligence in today's workplace?
AI is gradually creeping into organizations, even though I would say that some organizations are slower in adapting this. But there are different forms of artificial intelligence that one can use, to document knowledge. Just this morning, one of my colleagues has shared a video with me, on something on learning that was documented via Doodly. I don't know how many people know Doodly. It's an artificial intelligence platform where you can put something together in a fun way and document it. And everybody wants to listen, to it. So AI helps a lot. I know that a lot of people have seen AI as competitive, and then people are worried for their jobs and all of that. But I see it from a different perspective altogether. I think it has come to enhance what we do, and we can leverage a lot on it within the organization, to deliver what we need to deliver. So AI, it's not, it doesn't have a boundary, it's limitless. It helps in everywhere. It helps you with HR, helps with sales, depending on how mature your organization is and how much you're leveraging on artificial intelligence to deliver what you want to deliver. So for me, I'd say it's a welcome invention, and we all look forward to the time that we'll embrace AI fully, to be able to deliver on our jobs. I mean, I've heard of some AI platforms writing your memos for you. I mean, I just want to sit back and say, I want to write a memo for approval for this and that, and it's something just constructive for me. And I just look at it and then put in a few things here and there, and the job is done, and I forward it. That's cool, I think. So I think it's a welcome development, and I think it will help us a lot in the nearest future. Thank you. Bolaji, the next question, please.
Thank you very much, Ma. Okay, that question was from Ben. The last question we'll be taking is from Agogo. So the adage says that the reward for good work is more work. How do individuals who are already tasked with a heavy workload effectively share or transfer knowledge?
So like I said, it takes effort, and it takes, you must actually deliberately create time for it. How would you feel good if you were exiting an organization and you were carrying the knowledge away? It won't speak well of you. When people are talking about that role in future, they'll say, oh, everything that she knew that she was doing, she didn't even leave for the next person that will come and take up the job. So I think it's a deliberate effort when you know that you have some kind of knowledge. I know it can be difficult. I know that when you're bogged down with work, all you want to do is just to deliver, to do the job, and all of that. But you must deliberately create time for knowledge transfer. Another way of, and I don't want to use the word enforce, is when you impute this into people's KPIs, into people's deliverables, where, they're being measured on how much knowledge they are transferring, especially to your downlines, so how much are you impacting your downlines? Do they know as much as you do? Because as a leader, one of your jobs is to ensure that there's transfer of knowledge. And when you transfer knowledge as a leader, believe me, you're reducing the workload on yourself, because you now have capable team members who are able to take decisions when you are maybe away on vacation, nobody is bothering you, team members who are able to run the team whilst you are away. And for floor members of the team as well, when you transfer your knowledge, it's not you alone. It reduces your workload, because when you're unable to, when you're busy, somebody else can take up, what you want to do and reduce the knowledge, reduce the workload on you. So it's a deliberate effort, honestly, that takes a conscious effort for you to transfer knowledge. You'll be busy, but you must find time from time to time. And it doesn't take long. Sometimes it could just be a 10-minute meeting with your teammates to say, look, guys, I think this is how we need to do this. This is how I've done it in the past, and this is how it's worked, and all of that. Or when you have some time in the middle of some work, you have some 5 minutes free, you can just put it in, email formats, put a process together, and share with your teammates so that they understand what you are doing. It's going to be your gain at the end of the day. So you need to make a conscious effort to do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Owadia.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Bolaji, for assisting us with the questions. Thank you so much, Madam Tolulope, for this, for providing answers to our questions. They were quite insightful. It is very important at every level that you are, whether you're at the start level, or you're the middle, or you're at the top level, which is the senior level. Try as much as possible to pass on information in tidbits, like she said. And you can also take time out, 5-10 minutes. Sometimes you might think, oh, it's not enough. But when you start, you realize that no matter how little the information has been passed across, there will be somebody who has gained a lot that will help them to improve on the job, as well as you in turn to also reduce your workload. It's been a fantastic learning journey with you, Ma. Thank you so much for the opportunity to glean from your extensive wealth of knowledge. We appreciate your time. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. And I'm sure that our participants have really gained a lot and enjoyed this session. Thank you so much for all who has contributed through questions. I'm sure we have also learned a lot. Thank you so much, Ma, for your time. And we please do have a lovely day. Please, we would expect that you stay hang in during the session. Our second speaker is still here, and would introduce him to also kickstart the session in another 1 minute. So please, let's appreciate our facilitator once again. Thank you so much, Ma.
Thank you, and have a nice day. I'll be glad to join the session, the next session.
All right.
Bye,
thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
please,
you.
can we appreciate our facilitator, our speaker? All right, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for participating. So quickly, like you said, we are going to manage our time. This is 11:50. We have Mr. Ikechukwu Onoko. He's the head talent management in IKEDC. I know most of us know this organization, and we have one thing or the other. I mean, your light bills, you can't do away with them. So we have our expert here, Mr. Ikechukwu Onoko. He's going to take us in the second session, which is designing an effective learning path for continuous knowledge development. So what you have gained from Madam Tolulope's session, how do you apply it? And then how do you create a learning path? So Mr. Ikechukwu is going to take us for the next 30 minutes as well. And we would also have questions at the end of the session. Please remember, this is not a university class. It is a session where we have come to learn. So please take your notes and remember to jot your questions, just so that as soon as it's done, we take your questions and then we close out for the day. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. You're welcome, sir. Mr. Ikechukwu. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Awele. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I want to be sure that I'm very clear.
Very clear, sir.
All right. Let me share my screen in a bit. Can we see my screen, please?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. Just give me a minute. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. It's coming up. Okay, it's up. Yet to be on. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you for this opportunity. Welcome everybody. Thank you for being here as well. Let me once again say thank you to Tolu. She's done most of my work for me, but you know, the concepts were things that we need to continue to emphasize yet again. Our team is how we make it together and talking about designing an effective learning path for continuous learning development, which is part and parcel of the first speaker's topic as well. Now,
the line is breaking. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Please, was that Tolani? Tolani, you have your hand up. We would get the facilitator back, please. I'm sure it's just a technical glitch, so just please bear with us. Tolani, you can drop your question in the chat box. Please use the chat box to drop your question. We see you that your hand is raised. Thank you.
Sorry, can you hear me? Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Thank you.
Sorry, there was a network glitch. All right, so how do you ensure learning is applied to the work environment and then creating paths for knowledge development? We know that the first item here is an issue that we've either been a part of or we've experienced in the course of our journeys as employees or people in HR, whether in HR or in the learning function. We know that so much money is spent year on training budgets, and yet sometimes we struggle to see the effect or the impact of this investment in learning and development. So, and this is core at the reason why businesses have that headache, why they keep wondering, why do I keep spending money and I'm not seeing it on my business result, I'm not seeing it on productivity, I'm not even seeing it in the behavioral changes of my employees. Okay, and the challenge is because there's usually a disconnect between it. Now, I'll start by just letting us know, for those of us who are learning professionals, right? It's important to understand that our function in an organization is through all the approaches, learning approaches, knowledge management systems, and all the interventions that we bring to our business, regardless of what it is. Our role is to develop capability to support the achievement of our corporate. We continuously bring to bear interventions to promote productivity across our class of employees, enable behaviors that drive corporate value, of course, to facilitate and sustain organizational learning, and then enable performance, individual employee performance, and then business performance. Of course, we're expected to also contribute to positive employee experience by the learning interventions that we partner with our subject matter experts and external experts to create in the work environment. This sits at the core of our existence as HR or learning professionals in every organization.
Okay, sorry about that. Speaker will be back shortly, please. Thank you.
Guys, sorry about this. I don't know what's going on here. I'm using. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry about that. So let me run right along. So some key terms that we are familiar with, but we often misunderstand and misinterpret is the concept of training, learning, development, and education. These words are a key feature if we're going to be able to, if we want to succeed in ensuring that what our employees and our colleagues are learning are being used in the workforce, in the work environment. All right, I see training as an event, while I see learning as a journey, and then development is more like an outcome at the end of the day, right? Training just has to do with using specific or formal approaches or processes to impart knowledge in order for employees to develop certain skills or capabilities required for them to do their job. Of course, training takes several formats that we may or may not be aware of. There are different kinds of training. Training can be informal, training can be formal, the training can be virtual. Training can take several shapes depending on the need of the audience. Whereas learning, on the other hand, training is a vehicle that facilitates learning, right? And of course, while training is an event, I said learning is a journey, which is a continuous process of acquiring and developing skills, and then behavior as well. And of course, like we, in the learning balance, we say learning what knowledge that cannot be retrieved has not been gained. Knowledge that cannot be retrieved has not been gained. So you come to a training event, but we can only tell that learning has happened when you are able to deploy what you have learned in particular problem-solving situations where certain gap or behavioral issue has evolved to the better. Maybe you were finding it difficult to do certain things before to engage an audience or to carry out a specific task. Learning can only happen when we know that you are now able to engage better. We can tell a change from point A to point B. And of course, development has to do with equipping employees over time in such a way that they grow, their potentials are brought out, and their capabilities match the growing complexities of the responsibility of their work, or the changing or the growing responsibility of their work. Okay, so of course, development will leverage on learning experiences and learning approaches targeted to specific individuals who are growing through a career path or a specific path in the organization, or will I say particular learning ladder in the organization. And this is where learning paths come in. All right, so it's important because not understanding these key terms also has affected the design and the interventions that we bring to bear in the organization. So it's important to know the difference of this, right? So training is an event, learning is a journey, and development really is an outcome. All right. Now, I want us to take note of this, that this quote says that the most well-designed and well-received training programs are of little or no use unless what is learned in training gets implemented on the job. If I were to ask you all here now, if you've ever been at a training and you've found it difficult to transfer what you learned on the job, I'm sure you'll be able to point out a few things. We can also even put that in the chat box. What training events have you been to that you struggle to bring to your workspace? What was learned? What were the reasons? Some of those things are the things I want to be discussing. And I would like to speak particularly to those of my colleagues in the learning space, because really it's our responsibility, like I said, to facilitate performance. Really, learning and performance are embedded in practice, right? Because everything we do must be targeted towards business and performance and employee productivity. HR, as I like to say, having been taught by one of my senior colleagues in the industry, HR is the facilitator of corporate performance, or the midwife of corporate performance. Whatever it is we're doing, regardless of the functional space in HR that we occupy, our remit is to ensure that there is results, all right? Results that affect the business. So if we're spending money,
I want to go somewhere. Do I go and come back?
Typical learning budgets in Nigeria today is about a third of the annual salaries, right? Hundreds of millions, depending on the size of the organizations, are being budgeted towards learning. And you find out that when organizations are in a fix, when they are in, when their financial fortunes are threatened, one of the first things they want to cut down on is training budget. And why so? It's funny because you can't, that shouldn't be the first, because you can't realize your objective. You can't achieve your goal as a business if your people are not continuously developing skills and capabilities to enable them to do their jobs. But oftentimes when these conversations are hard, it's because our colleagues in the learning space or in HR are not able to bring, demonstrate the effectiveness of the interventions, learning interventions, and the spend on training programs in the organization, which is why this conversation is important. Like I said, some of the things we'll be saying here are things that may not be too novel to us, but the question then is, how are we using them? How are we deploying them? How are we bringing them to practice and not just leaving it in the domain of academic theory? All right. So no matter what we do, no matter what we take your people to, spend money, take them to nice locations, give them good food and all of that, if they don't bring it back to the workplace, then that spend is useless. And then, of course, management at some point will come back to talk about cutting costs. All right. Moving right along. I asked, right? I would like to still see your chat. Have you been at a training event before, a learning event, and you struggled to bring to use, or to use what you learned in the workplace sustainably? Please share in the chat box what were the things that were responsible for, that you think was responsible for that. I just want to be sure that you can still hear me. Can I go ahead? Can you hear me, please?
Yes, please.
All right, fine. Okay,
Yes,
so
please.
good. So I would like to talk about the RD model, which is very necessary. Remember, what we're talking about is how we can transfer what we learn in the classroom to the place of work. Now, most times, this is one very effective model used in the workplace, okay? This is a learning design model that is highly recommended if you're going to achieve any form of success. Now, anybody in HR who has been certified or who's a HR professional, the chances are that you already know this and you can discuss it. But like I said before, and I'm asking again, how often do you use this? Before a training event can be effective, before a training event can be successful, these are some of the things that and phases we must, and the rigor we must bring to our learning design and all our learning intervention. What makes training successful is not what happens in the class. it is the pre-activities, and of course, what you do in the class, which I'll talk about later, and then what happens at the end of the day. So the very first item here is a needs assessment. Most times, right, people find themselves in classes or in programs that were never relevant to them. If you check very closely, assessing the needs may have been omitted. Most times I've been in situations and work with clients where, especially some of their senior people, are found in training programs, not necessarily because a need is being, a gap is being addressed. A gap may have been identified, but the mapping not aligned, right? People just want to leave the office, be away from work for some time, just have some fun, eat some good food, you understand? But nobody's is clearly holding specific and people responsible for specific gaps, okay? So needs assessment is that part of our job where we ask ourselves, where are the gaps in this business? What are the capabilities that we need to build? In which segment of the business should we focus on? Which people are to be our priority, all right? Now, when we do that, you can't really design any learning intervention if you've not clarified or you're not clear about what the needs are, what the business needs are, and what the people needs are. These two must align and they must feed into your design. Now, when you're clear about what your needs are, you now begin to go into designing the intervention. What do I want to achieve? And you see, it's your design that brings your learning path to the fore. It is the design that instructs how your learning path is structured, which of course we'll see down the slide, all right? What do we want to focus on? What's the overall objective? What are the sub objectives? What's the sequencing? What's the plan? What are the delivery methodologies we are going to use and all that? Once we are clear about what the design is, of course, the gap or the need determines what the design will be. Once you're clear about the design, then you go into putting the bolts and nuts together, which is the development phase, right? Creating lesson materials, right? Most times, if you're designing in-house, it's very iterative process. As HR may not be subject matter experts. For instance, you want to train engineers or you want to train front-facing, field-facing salespeople. You need to interact with subject matter experts in the business. We bring our expertise in terms of content design, curriculum development, of course, and some of these things I'm talking about. We bring in our expertise to ensure that the learning is delivered properly, learning sticks, and transfer happens. That way, we achieve our business goal, all right? By the time we're done with development, then of course, we begin to do the administrative elements of this framework, which is implementing. Now, every single part of this framework is really important and it requires cerebral work, right? Because there are stages in each of these phases required for you as a professional to deliver successfully, because a training program has its pros and cons, and if taken for granted, we may not achieve our goal. Then, of course, at the end of the day, after implementing the program, then we'll come to evaluation. Now, this is another big gap we have seen in practice, right? Most times when we manage to share evaluation forms, which only tests one aspect of learner outcome, which is just reaction, we manage to move to the next phase and try to see if learning happened, right? We never go to the third and the fourth stage that affects business goals, right? And this is the area where HR gets its place at the table. But that's a conversation for another day. But learning evaluation is where we justify the spend for every learning intervention. And once we follow this record, because in evaluation, there will be feedback, there will be things that will show us where we need to amend, where we need to do better, and it will go back into the learning process. And then we are better off as we continuously to deploy learning in our businesses, right? This is just a summary because I'm looking at my time. It's a conversation that begs further detail, but this is a known model in the learning space, and if followed thoroughly, right, we're sure to achieve success in business, success in terms of employee value, and then of course business value. Again, what are also the culprits in ensuring that what is learned is brought into the classroom? There are three elements here. This model is taken from Baldwin and Ford. The participants, the training, and the work environment, right? These all feed into learning, ensure that learning happens, and then people take what they learn to the job. Okay, so like I said before, looking at the model I talked about before, in designing any intervention, what are the who are your participants, who are your target audience? If we don't take care to check these people and match their cognitive abilities, their ability to interpret, to assimilate the learning content, that intervention is dead on arrival. So take for instance, I'm running a data school in Ikeja Electric today, and this school is broken into 3 parts, all right? Some bits are just analysis using Excel, some SQL, some Power BI, and all of that. Now, it's not possible for you to come on stream at the SQL state because you don't have the basic entry knowledge for you to flow with the course. You're joining that school will just be a waste of your time. Several of the schools we design here in the organization today have some of those entry barriers, while some you don't need it to have any previous knowledge. But it's very important to note and assess the cognitive abilities of our employees. If you're doing an intervention for drivers, for instance, you want to be mindful of how you're putting together your learning content. Okay, learner motivation. How are you? What are your joining instructions, right? Like, what are the pre-training instructions? What are the pre-training engagement like? How are you selling the content, right? How are you engaging your target audience way before the learning? How are you selling the future to them? How are you sharing that broad goal and broad objective to them to ensure that they are aligned with you and they are interested in the learning? Most times people are coerced into the classroom. Our duty and our responsibility is to ensure that we facilitate learner motivation. Otherwise, participation will be low. Okay, the trainer has his own beat in terms of learner motivation, but HR learning has its own bit as well in engaging audience, especially people in the workplace before they come to the classroom. Now, your understanding of your audience will make you understand how well they're able to assimilate and how motivated they are and how ready they are to learn. If you put somebody in a class that he feels he's not supposed to be in, he's not going to be motivated. He's not going to open up his or her mind to learn. Okay, then your training quality, the relevance of your content, and all of those things are items you need to look at. Of course, your work environment. Most times we do trainings, and then when they go back to the office, there's no opportunity for them to learn. There's no opportunity for them to apply what they're not able to apply what they are learning. So that's your our responsibility. Of course, the learner has his own part to learn, to seek for opportunities to learn to apply what has been learned, and then seek for opportunities for feedback. And like Tolulokwe mentioned, there's an opportunity. There is what's it called, a knowledge sharing session that is necessary for you to come and share with your colleagues the things that you have learned, so that you can, ingrain learning. Okay. So these are some of the things we need to pay attention to, right? If we are going to be able to transfer learning. So we who are participants coming to a learning event must be aware that what we're coming to learn is something we can relate with, is something that aligns with us, matches us, and then is something that we are ready to learn. And of course, the training quality. For the HR person or the learning person, your job is to ensure that you are assessing or seeking for quality facilitators for your people, for quality learning materials as well. And of course, the content must be relevant. And it's our responsibility as learners ourselves, regardless of where we are at, to ensure that the content that is being provided us supports problems we need to solve, things with gaps that we have noticed in ourselves, and then can support us to learn. Okay, now let me run because of time. A few things are necessary if we are going to be able to learn and transfer to our place of work. There's something called learning, because learning in the workplace is different from learning in the school. Learning as adults is also different, as like Awele was saying before, is different from children learning. We are, as adults, our learning is referred to as andragogy, right? And there are certain things that are important for us to be able to make use of what we have learned. I'll just run through some of these things, right? And then we can, of course, read through this later on. There's a sphere of learning called active learning, right? Active learning has to do with ensuring that there's active participation in a class. Like this session is a lunch and learn series. If it was in a training, by now would have done 1 or 2 exercises already. Action learning takes into consideration how adults think, how they problem solve, and how they learn. Okay, we must ensure that interventions that we bring to bear in our organizations are interventions that enable people to be actively involved in the learning content, right? And then, of course, whatever learning that we're bringing to bear must be able to help us to solve specific problems. We need to be able to tease out information required to deal with real life situations in our place of work. And as adults, of course, it's very important that whatever we're learning, we can link it to previous information or previous knowledge, which is why sometimes across the table knowledge sharing helps. Case studies are also helpful in a learning session. Okay, of course, the content must be relevant to people. Most times when we're taking content from outside the country or outside of your industry, you don't really find much use to it. And of course, once you're done with that kind of thing, based on the forgetting theory, the next 3-4 hours, you've forgotten what you've learned and you just move on. But if it's relevant, if you can relate what you're learning to your place of work, then the chances are higher for you to deploy, to use that in your place of work. Then, of course, there's expected to be emotional connection, which is why storytelling is a big way of facilitating transfer learning in the workplace. We should be able to be in learning environments where stories are told, and then, of course, there's some emotional connection with the content and the learner, and then the chances of ensuring transfer is higher. Then, of course, adults like to learn by themselves. They don't just want to sit in places and just have somebody talk to them all through. And this is because as adults have bagged years of experience which they can be put to use. And of course, as they share that experience across board, people can all learn and have a richer experience, right? And then, of course, learning events are also meant to be fun, which is why you'll find that sometimes trainers use puzzles, jokes, and some fun activity from time to time in the course of learning events in order to ensure that there's some engagement happening, okay? Of course, there should be alignment where adults are expected to, on their own, research and present outcomes based on the activities that they have put together to learn in a session, okay? They want to also see that their years of experience are being put to use and, of course, being checked in the learning environment. Of course, as adults, adults like to learn. They come to a learning session with goals. So if you come to a session and then you don't have a goal, you're not likely to learn from it. When you go for learning sessions, aside from being put there, what are your own personal goals, right? You must be clear about what you want to get out of the session. And of course, you must be interested in not just sitting through, but being involved in the practicality of the sessions, right? Any learning event that will be useful to you and your business must ensure that you're involved, your mind, your hands, all your senses are part of it. And in designing a learning event, we must be asking very clearly what are the things that, what's in it for me, really? What is the things we particularly take into account, noting that we are not speaking to students. Please, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
All right, yeah. So
Yes, we can hear you.
fantastic. All right. Another model that helps us to ensure that we're able to continuously develop knowledge in the workplace, and then of course ensure that what we're learning is being transferred, is the 70-20-10 model. Of course, this was designed for the military in the 80s, and it's a very popular model as well. And the interesting thing here is that much to what we know, most times there's this clamor that I want to be trained, and most time when we talk about training, what is in our mind is being sent away to one class somewhere for a day, for 2 days, you know, and then somebody comes and teaches us and all that. But you see, classroom instructor-led facilitation only amounts to 10% of what is learned and useful in the workplace, all right? And of course, there's something we call social learning, where we are put in cross-functional projects and we are able to learn from our peers, right? Again, Tolu mentioned earlier, reverse mentoring, where someone who is younger mentors or shares knowledge with someone who is seemingly older or more experienced. All right, mentoring anyway, these days is two-way. So a lot of learning happens in situations where colleagues are put together with other colleagues in the workplace. Okay, maybe on a project or on an assignment, right? And this is learning through others. We learn and grow. And most 20% of what we learn really it comes from others, and then of course the bulk of it comes from experience. You know, if you think of something you are able to do very well, if you ask yourself, how did I get to do it? You know that you'll find out that it's not necessarily from a training that you got that, particularly things that you are naturally good at. You might have attended training to sharpen your experience. You might have engaged somebody to build on what you know already. But you see, if you look closely, you'll find that it's from experiential learning. Having done something over and over again over time, you're aware of the saying that goes, practice makes perfect, right? So a thing that you do all the time, right, you're most likely to learn. So interventions that allow us to, that blends these approaches are surely going to find their way in the place of work. So how do I mean? Today, when we design programs, sometimes, yes, we have classroom programs, a whole lot of that. But for high impact programs, right, and for some of the graduate training programs, we infuse opportunities for class in cohorts, colleagues or participants to learn together. So there's this what we call group posting, where a team of people go together to a specific area or a specific unit elsewhere to learn stuff together, to attempt new challenges together. In addition to that, over a period of time, more senior people in the organization are assigned to them with specific outcomes, you know, over a period of time. All right, that's one of the ways we build engineers in our system today, and other critical, you know, employees in the workforce. Some have said that this approach is not as linear as it is, but the lesson here is that people often learn from experience. All right, people learn from those continuous and daily exposures they get in the place of work, and of course off the place of work. So being in the classroom, as great as it is, can only teach you so much, and it's quantified as 10%. You can imagine you come to a classroom, for instance, and then you don't deploy what you learn outside your classroom. It's going to be a challenge. Okay, so moving right along, I'll just run through this. Everyone there has a a responsibility in ensuring that learning happens. And let me start with you, for instance, you and I. If we are going to grow, if we are going to be able to continuously develop knowledge in our workplaces and use them, first, we must take ownership of our needs, our developmental needs. Okay? Many years ago, one of my professors said to me that self-development is executive development. Most times, rather than wait for someone to come and send you somewhere, you have a university in your pocket, your phone. You can learn a whole lot, all right? And then seek out meaningful ways to demonstrate the things you've learned on an ongoing basis. Now, again, when you go to training, when you're in a learning event, most times, you don't do yourself any favor by sitting there and then being on the phone or doing other things. I don't need to say that to you, but we need to be actively involved because we learn every day. We can't learn enough, okay? There must be something new that you will add on that will help you become better as a line manager, as a boss, as a leader, or as a professional in whatever area you find yourself, okay? And then you must be very intentional. One way to entrench learning is to teach others, right? So here in my place of work, what we do, we have our learning sessions, our knowledge sharing sessions or teachback sessions are a must. When you come back from a learning event, depending on what kind of event it is, between a week and 1 month, you are expected to share that with a specific audience, right? At least 2-3 times, so that your colleagues challenge you, ask you questions, and then get you to think differently from what you've learned. One way to entrench learning as recipients of learning intervention is to seek for ways to immediately teach other people. Okay, somebody had asked before, how do you teach others or transfer when you're busy? It's your core, right? Like I said, we must take ownership of what we learn. Okay, and if you're here, you manage people, you're responsible for other people. Most of the time where learning fails is because of the support or the lack of support of a line manager. It's expected that when people go and learn, there's something we do to facilitate it here. We have learning contracts that we share, okay, where the line managers will at least sign a kind of a contract, releasing the participant to go learn, clearly identify the objectives of that learning, what the person will come back and do, and then commit that 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks down the line, he or she will be doing an evaluation based on what that person is learning. That way, both the line manager and the person in the class is committed to that learning event. So it's our role to ensure that we support our colleagues, because when they go on a training event, it's going to help our jobs easier. They're going to learn skills that will make them become more productive, more efficient. And there's no reason why we should be the ones hampering them from learning, okay? We must identify what the gaps are, be very upfront and clear about it. And when they come back, observe to see whether any changes have happened, and then be very, very fruitful, very, very upfront and clear about the feedback that we give, constructive feedback, so that our people can go and learn. Learning takes different forms, right? Support as line managers is very, very, very critical in ensuring that learning sticks and then the business takes benefit at the end of the day. I'll leave the HR part of this, but of course, the role of HR in facilitating learning in the organization is, of course, highlighted there. As I wrap things up, I'll just go straight away into a learning pathway. Of course, we know that a pathway is a road or an access path that leads us to a specific destination, right? Now, if you look at these two pictures, you will see that the one on the right seems to be more structured. I would rather want to learn if delivered in this format. A learning path is simply a structured format of providing learning in order for an individual to gain skills and acquire new knowledge, of course, to be more productive. And so why must we use learning path? It provides some bit of structure to learning, as opposed to having drawn or pulled into one class or the other. There's a sequence, a clear sequence of learning, provided ahead of time. Learning paths also help in realizing learning goals in time. It clearly defines and spells out learning goals and objectives within a specified time frame. Learning paths are used, of course, in organizations that have LMSs, and that's a perfect example of how a learning path is delivered. If you can go to the ATD website and see what a learning path is like, and I'll show you an example here. LMSs usually have micro-learning broken down into bits and structured format in such a way that it's easy for the learners to learn and then gain knowledge, okay? I'm aware of my time now. So in designing learning format, how do you do that, okay? This is something that can be done by either us, it can be done by the learning professionals in our organization. First of all, it starts with analysis as well. Who is supposed to learn? What are the gaps that needs to be learned? I want to train salespeople. I want to train business managers. What are the things I'm going to be looking at? I need to be clear about my audience. I need to know what kind of gaps I need to put. You know, most times when I look at needs analysis, you find a lot of generalization. Learning cannot happen that way, all right? When you manage people, you need to know that a manager's need cannot be the same with an officer. But most times I see that there is that suggestion to put them in the same classroom. That training is dead on arrival. When a senior person sees him or herself in the same class with somebody that reports to him, there's not going to be learner motivation. And these are some of the things we need to understand when designing some of these things, all right? What are the learning goals? What do we want to learn? What are the outcomes? What are the objectives? What are the milestones? How do we develop content? Now, this is an example of a learning part from the iSpring page, which clearly defines some of these things. If you are going to successfully use learning paths to enable development in our respective organization, we must keep asking ourselves, what's the ultimate goal I'm trying to achieve? All right. For instance, this is for somebody who is responsible for managing people. All right. So there's first an outcome, right? At the end of the entire program, this is what the person is going to be taking out. Then their objective, the ultimate goal needs down to be broken down into specific objective, specifying what the person will be able to do. Then all those objectives must dovetail down into lesson plans, course outlines, and of course, the model I described earlier on will be brought to bear in designing this. Yours is not to do the design. The experts are there to do it for you, but yours is to ensure that you are answering some of these questions. Because if you are coming to a learning environment and you're not clear about what you want to take out of it, chances are that anything provided for you will be you have no choice but to live with it. Okay, so this is an example of what a path looks like. And like I said, LMSs clearly help you depict this for you and makes it easy for you to go on this journey. In our organization, we have an LMS to where all the courses are broken down in little chunks, and then learning is easy. Every program has a clear goal, has broken down areas of interest and specific time frames, attached to each of them, which allows every learner to take their time to learn. They come at it just like you eat food. They take them in little bites and sizes over time, and then they are able to achieve their overall objective over time. But again, one way to do this is automate it. The other way is to get your experts in your business to support you in designing your learning path in order to achieve your learning goals, right? These are other things we need to take note of in designing learning paths, but of course I'm mindful of our time, and so I won't be running through that. I know I've taken a lot of our time already. I've discussed some of these things already. Okay, in your analysis stage, you are designing where you're determining who the target audience is. You're looking at what the issues are, what the gaps are, what the topics we want to deal with is. But I'm talking about communication, but who is the target audience? Communication for a manager is different from communication for an officer. Communication for a front-facing employee is different from communication for a back-facing employee. So these are all the things that we take into cognizance in designing a learning path that will ensure that there's transfer in the organization, and then knowledge is being developed across our business. The job of identifying and determining what the current level and what the gaps are two ways, okay? It's both for the learner and then for the learning partners, right, in the organization. That's our job. It's a two-way job, to be for the learner to be upfront and clear about what the gaps are, and then for the learning professional to ask the right question. Okay, of course, the entire journey towards, or as we all make our learning journey on our path to learning, is iterative, right? So we develop the goal and the ultimate goal, the first objective. When you're done with the class, that's why you have post-assessments to check if the goals we set out to meet have been met. What are the challenges? What are the places we need to adjust? There were some programs that we adjusted. We did here for some of our field-facing team. And in the course of review, after we were done with the first set of modules, we found out that some of the technical bits were better done at certain times of the day, and then because of the attention level, right? So this was readjusted, and we found out that when we did it for the same people, the next cohort, we checked the scores and we saw that there was a significant increase between the second guys and the first guys, just because of that iterative engagement and then adjustment in terms based on the feedback provided in the course of the learning. All right, so it's important and necessary to continuously look at what is peculiar in our business and how we want to create those parts to ensure that we achieve success. Now, as I tie things up now, for those of us who are providing support to learners, we must engage our practice as professionals, right? We shouldn't drag people into the class or without analyzing or checking in what it is that what the gaps are. What are the business needs? What are the people needs? What are the issues that we need to resolve? This training that we want to do this particular period, what is the end game? If I bring my people into this classroom, what are they going to go away with? All right. We mustn't practice as drug dealers, but we must practice as professional, because when we are prescribing without diagnosis, we are actually we're involved in professional malpractice. So all of what I've discussed so far is for us to first understand some of the principles that enables learning transfer in the organization, and then ensure that there's continuous knowledge development in the organization. Now, with your understanding, you're able to hold accountable those who are responsible for providing learning for you, okay? Because you shouldn't be, a training program should not come to you as a surprise. Its training content should not be strange to you, because your needs and the needs of the organization must have been taken into consideration before you're brought into a classroom. All right. And for those of my colleagues who are in practice, who are in HR here, some of the things I've said here are familiar, you're familiar with them. But then again, beyond the theory, how do we take this, from theory into practice, such that our colleagues who we bring into learning environment get value for the time they are committing to a learning event, and the business who is releasing funding for these learning interventions derive value by way of having these things taught in classroom, taken back into the office. So that's for us to up our game, is for us to take some of these things and look at them closely again, and then ask ourselves the hard questions, how we can ensure that our learning investments are not a waste. I'm mindful that I've overshot my time, and I would like to stop here and say thank you. I'll be happy to take questions for the items I may not have talked about. We can take questions here and hereafter. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Ikechukwu, for that wonderful delivery. Excellent delivery, I must say. Thank you so much for everyone for participating and listening. We have, I know some of us or most of us, like Mr. Ikechukwu has said, coming into a learning session, you should know what's the goal of that session. You need to be intentional in learning. So there are some of the things I also noted. That is based on the organization, why do I keep spending and there's no improvement in productivity or behavioral changes? That's because we as the individuals, as learners, we need to be intentional in applying this knowledge. Knowledge that he also mentioned, that knowledge that has not been retrieved has not been gained. If you go for learning sessions and you do not have a goal, you will not gain from it. Experiential learning is where most of us actually get acquainted with the activities that we do in our deliverables. It is something that you do repetitively over time and you become a master at it. He also mentioned something that stuck with me: self-development is executive development. The onus lies on you. You don't need to wait for your organization to do everything for you. You have a university in your pocket. I mean, most of us here already have phones. Our phones, we have so many sites, we have so many virtual online learning institutions where we even have free courses. So it's no excuse anymore. You have a wealth of knowledge outside your organization that you can leverage on to help you to improve on your job. And immediately after your any learning session, something that also stuck with me is that you seek ways to immediately teach someone else. And I think if we recall, Madam Tolulope also mentioned that your 5 minutes, your 10 minutes, you don't think it's too small. It's always something that would help the next person to improve. So thank you very much. He also spoke about your learning paths and how to create your learning journey. So most of all this information are things I'm sure we can ideas that we can take back to our organizations to improve our application of learning on the job, to improve productivity and also behavioral aspects of the job. So thank you very much, sir, for this enlightening session. We are going into the questions, Q&A. I see some questions here already. We have a question from Ben. So we'll just read out the questions now. Okay, so from Justice, we have from Ben first. Sir, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so Ben is asking, how do organizations design learning interventions for a multi-generational workforce? Because learning structures that appeal to baby boomers and millennials may not appeal to Gen Zs. I don't know if you got that, sir.
I did. Do you want me to take them one after the other?
Yes. Please.
Okay, fine. All right. So Ben, and you're correct. You're spot on. Baby boomers and millennials learn differently, right? So even in the field of andragogy, right, where we're talking about adult learning, there are what you call different learner preferences. So whether you're Gen Z or baby boomers, this is where the analysis is very critical. And I don't know if you're in HR, right? If you're designing learning programs for your whatever audience it is in your organization, the first question you're asking yourself is, who are my learners and what are their needs? Regardless of where what generation divide they find themselves, remember that learning intervention is a gap closing or capacity development intervention. So if you cannot link what is being delivered to a gap or a capacity need, then it's going to fail, right? So the rigor here, the first thing here is to first identify who my learners are, what are their needs. Then of course you can begin to go ahead and do how do they prefer to learn. But you see, as experienced learners may not need to go into details of the third bit, which is how they prefer to learn. learning professionals who are adept at delivery know well to cater for all kinds of learners. So whether you are millennial or you are baby boomer, or you are Gen Z or Gen X, whatever, or Gen Alpha, you will fall into one of the learner preferences, right? So the learning intervention will be designed to cater for auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, reading and writing people, and people who have specific kinds of preferences. So training delivers a different skill that needs to be brought to bear to satisfy all learners. So, but the long and short of it is understand do your analysis, right? Audience analysis, competence analysis, and then you're sure to get value. Again, if your delivery is online or physical, those are other things you need to consider, all right? Because the approaches also differ, how you engage a physical audience and how you engage a virtual audience. So these are, I don't know if that answers your question, but it comes in analyzing and understanding who your audiences are, and then designing a learning intervention that meets their needs. That way you won't get it wrong.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ikechukwu. I'll be reading the second question in the chat box from Justice. How can collaborative and social learning elements be integrated into a learning path to foster peer-to-peer interaction and knowledge sharing? Do you want me to take it again?
No, I can see. I heard you. Yeah? From Justice, right? How can collaborative learning and social learning elements be integrated into a learning path to foster peer-to-peer interaction and knowledge? This is similar to the first question that was asked, right? This is you infusing technology into learning. Well, that's one bit. But like I said initially, collaborative social learning elements are situations or events where you bring learners together. So there are certain things. There's something you call cross-functional projects or joint projects. So, for instance, a group of learners have finished an intervention. Let me use my data school, for instance. So you get data from the business and give it to them as a group project. Now, why that is helpful, in fact, there's a research done in India as to the powerful impact of social learning to learners, specifically people who are in the same environment. Now, when they're all together, pulling their resources together in resolving that problem, you find out that they rub off on each other, right? Knowledge is shared and harnessed in that small team. And of course, some bit of bonding also happens because you will see them experiencing difficult or new challenges together and jointly solutioning. There's bonding there, then there's increased learning. And then of course, that's opportunity for knowledge sharing. So as they need to brainstorm, as they need to identify cause and effect, you find that knowledge is actually happening, all right? Then of course, in the classroom, that then becomes the responsibility of the facilitator to ensure that from time to time, he's pairing up students to co-create, he's pairing up students in groups to resolve, maybe through case studies, through role plays, through other available means, that is accessible to the learner and the facilitator in a learning environment. So collaborative social learning elements are both available in class and then post class, right? I hope I've been able to answer. This is one of the ways to deal with that. And of course, I know that there are several other ways. So Justice, I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Yes. Thank you very much. I have another question over there.
Yes. How do you strike a balance between providing enough challenge to encourage growth while avoiding overwhelming learners? Which is why. So it's important that timing is everything in this, right? You know that when a learner comes out from a learning environment, there's still that excitement. When knowledge is still fresh, there's still that eagerness, there's still that, how do I say now, that eagerness to want to share. So it's better in a short space of time, 2 weeks post-learning, the person is encouraged to share that knowledge with his team. So for instance, sometimes for some class of people, we just block your calendar ahead of time and we'll share the learning. If it's virtual, we'll share the link. If it's not, we send the invites and then make the venue available. And then all you need to do is to come. And what we also do is to partner with the line manager to ensure that it happens. So once a day is agreed upon, it forces the learner to begin to prepare to ensure that that time does not catch them unawares. All right. So that way, that is quickly done out of the way, and then they go back to their work environment and they are not really overwhelmed. But like I said, it's not easy. We must share what we have learned. First, for the learner, it helps the learner to retain what has been taught. It helps the learner to deepen what has been learned. It helps the learner to receive feedback and other perspective to enrich what has been gained. All right. And again, it's a test that learning has happened, because remember, knowledge that cannot be retrieved has not been gained. Are you following? So that is what we must have at the back of our mind. So again, the learning professional must be there to provide that motivation, to let them see why this must happen. And then hopefully they will be able to give it their best shot. Justice, are we on the same page?
Yes, we're on the same page. Thank you very much. Don't just.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for participating. Thank you so much, Mr. Ikichukwu, for that awesome learning session, and also your responses to the Q&As. It has thrown more light into gray areas. Thank you everyone for participating. It has been an interesting time with everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We still have Madam Togdokwe with us here. Thank you so much, Ma, for staying with us till this time. It has been an awesome time this afternoon. We thank all our participants for participating in this program. And like we said, this is going to be a monthly activity for us, where we're going to gather professionals, irrespective of the industry. We'll be sharing, we'll let you know ahead of time the content and that we'll be teaching you in the next session. We have also presently we have put feedback forms on the chat box. Kindly help us fill the feedback forms. We would like to get your feedback on today's session. We would like to know what other topics you would like to learn. Like we said, it's going to be a monthly exercise, so please try as much as possible to share your feedback with us, just so that I mean, it's always said that you're only as good as your last gig. We are open to learning. Learning is a daily activity that everybody within the professional industry should do every day of your life. You should learn, no matter how small. 5 minutes, 10 minutes can always go a long way to help you in your daily activities. So please try as much as possible to fill our feedback form, and we will communicate to you as soon as we have decided on, based on your feedback, we have decided on what topic we would present to the industry. Thank you so much, Madam Togdokwe. Thank you so much, Mr. Ikechukwu. It was an awesome time with everyone, and on behalf of our managing director and the executive management of MACTE Limited, we say thank you very much everyone for participating. As we bring the program to a close, please try as much as possible to provide your feedback. The link has been dropped in the chat box, so please do click on it. It won't take us 5 minutes. Just help us click on it and provide your feedback. Thank you everyone for participating, and we look forward to having you join in the next month. Thank you.
The recording has stopped.